Mark's utterly iron grip closed around the world at an irrational rate. Even the athletes of Ultra Anima, or the martial armorists, as their fans called them, from the Temple of Honor arena put up a hardly noticeable resistance. The cities were occupied by shell soldiers and put on lockdown. The Nanitopians awaiting their fate. Meanwhile, back at the Shell, Mark Tortuga instructed that Shelinian mining be expanded as rapidly as possible. Having been briefed by General Sorescale and the Doctor upon their return from victory, they all knew that in order to continue to fuel their army, the mining must be expanded exponentially. This also meant that their supply of miners needed to be expanded exponentially as well, the prison barracks quickly turning into a city of its own. The plan continued like clockwork, with Mark and the General supremely satisfied with the outcome. Nanotopia began to settle into its horrifying new reality. Gone were the core customs of their society. Any display of Fornian tradition immediately punished with the most severe means. All anima armor was confiscated, with any of the world's prominent athletes and Fornians that remained forced into the underground of Paragon City in fear of punishment. As the time passed on Nanotopia, the changes to the world caused by the actions of Mark and his cabal were becoming apparent. At a rate of undeniable symbiosis, the rise in Shelinian mining was met with a proportionate decrease in food production. The disregard for the stasis of their home placing them in a disastrous circumstance. The dwindling food supply meant dwindling productivity from Shellcorp's army of prison labourers. For the first time since his now years-long takeover, Mark Tortuga began to feel vulnerable to failure. He began to talk through his options with General Sorescale and the rest of his inner circle. The inevitable faced them all. The options were few. One was to loosen the stranglehold on the citizens of Nanotopia by returning the shell soldiers to the fields and mines, attempting to artificially rekindle the magic of their world. Even contemplating this act of self-preservation stirred a familiar rage inside of Mark. As he began to reassess the problem at hand, his reptile mind twisted a new enemy into focus. One he had been fighting with his entire life, dealing with every day. An enemy responsible for the existence of the Fornians, as well as the current failing trajectory of his plan, seemingly the only one with the power to stop him, the world of Nanotopia itself. With the mystical place being the power that fuels everything, it was Mark's greatest enemy as well as his ally. The more they sought a solution, the more confused and enraged he became. Finally descending into near madness, he suggested that instead of returning the shell soldiers to work, they begin to farm the animals to feed their captive workforce, completely abandoning any hope of a sustainable outcome. Having witnessed firsthand what disagreeing with Mark or the General did for someone's future, the rest of Shellcorp quietly agreed with the plan. The morbid plan set in motion towards reality. Left out of the planning by Mark was the Doctor. Mark knew that the Doctor, who had been with Shellcorp since long before his takeover, possessed love for Nanotopia, as well as reason, having worked with the previous Tortugas increasing quality of life across all people. Once the Doctor uncovered the plans, he was shaken to the core. He was now faced with something he had hoped could be averted at all costs. In front of him lay an impossible decision. Keep his secret and ensure the death of Nanotopia, or unleash it and vault everyone into the unknown. He knew consequences of his decision could not be fathomed, but there was only one choice. The Doctor entered the meeting room as he did with any other meeting, his mind-blowing secret tucked beneath his arm. Before the meeting could begin, he approached Mark Tortuga. He pulled the massive folder from under his arm stamped with T420 and a hand-scribbled note attached reading, "The past."